Greetings, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Just wanted to come in today and talk a little bit about the energy and just to sort of continue to affirm us in a direction of being able to interact with energy in a way that is really beneficial to us. Because the world is changing so much and things are so chaotic, what is impacted often is our mindsets, right? We start to worry and we start to fear and we start to tell ourselves stories. You can't hear me? You guys can't hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. If you can't, then we're going to have to say, okay, Mercury retrograde. Can you hear me? Nobody can hear me? Can you guys hear me? A thumbs up if you can hear me, or you can hear. Okay, great. Hi, Ekta. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I'm talking about how are we managing ourselves with the energy, right? So for me, I can talk about my experience because that's what I got. So what happens for me is I tell stories about reality. I'd say, I like this, I don't like this feels good, that's not great, I wish that wouldn't. And I hear myself doing it all the time, a constant sort of barrage of internal dialogue about the experience in the world. You know, I like this, I don't like this, all of that stuff, all of those sort of inner preferences or conditionings that, like we're taught as children, this is good and this is bad. I remember when I used to drive in the car with my grandmother would sit in the front seat of the car because she didn't drive. But as people would walk across the street, she would talk about their bodies. That woman knows she needs to lose weight. That woman knows that dress is too short. That man knows he can't fit those clothes. Like literally orchestrating the reality with her conversation. But it's through judgment. It's through her perception. And so many of us have that voice inside of us. And as I have watched it inside of myself, what I realize that it does, because we live in a malleable reality, because we live in an energetic, when we are thinking thoughts about reality or speaking words about reality, we're actually creating it. This reality is so magical, you guys. This reality is so magical that we are so powerful without recognizing it because our subconscious have been suppressed profoundly. Many of us are just not in alignment or in connection with our subconscious. So because we're not aligned with our subconscious, we don't recognize how connected our feelings are to our actual experience. We don't recognize the experience of oneness that we're having all of the time. But we don't get it because our minds have been focused to think about money and how you look and what they said and how come I don't like them. And our minds have been conditioned to work against ourselves. And the level of discipline that it requires to transform your mind is rigorous. It is rigorous. And it requires profound devotion, right? It does. But we need it now, you guys. I am here because we need people to wake up. We need people to want to wake up. It's not just you. It's like, here's the thing. I remember when I started to realize that I was like, oh, this reality is tricky and I'm going to have to work for a certain amount of money how am I going to manage doing what I'm doing now if I'm working for $20 an hour? How am I going to do that for 30 years? Like I started really questioning how I was experiencing reality. And it got uncomfortable. Oh, I got to get married. I have to be in a relationship in order to survive here. Like that didn't make sense to me. Like I was like, oh, we have these rules, these cultural agreements that didn't really fit with me. Like I got to work 40 hours a week. I got to, all these things that we have to do to keep the culture running. I started really questioning those things. And as I questioned them, I started to find solutions for how to work around it or under it or through it or to throw it away entirely. And the reason we need to question it, so the more uncomfortable you become in certain experiences. So if you're uncomfortable in working for somebody, if you're uncomfortable, if you're sick all the time, right? You're uncomfortable in your physical body. If you're uncomfortable in your love relationships, if you are uncomfortable in your friend, it's because it's giving you information to want to get free. You're uncomfortable because it's an opportunity for you to get free. And you won't find, this was my favorite quote. They would say, Einstein said, good morning, you can't find the solution at the level of the problem. So I remember when I heard that, I was like, I'm not going to be able to find the solution for the stuff that's messing with me, like the fact that I have a hard time in love relationships or my family or physical. I can't find the solution at the level of the problem. That is a real thing. So I'm saying that to say is that whatever's going on in your life right now, whatever problem you have, you're not going to find the solution at that same level. You're going to have to become a different person. If you want to have better relationships, you're going to have to really, really change. You're not going to just be able to go get a new person and be like, it's a better relationship. It's not going to work. If you're not making enough money, you're not going to be able to figure out how to actually make the most money without going inside of yourself. It's not going to work. Because our systems are corrupted. And so when the systems are corrupted, like our school system and our healthcare system and the government system, the solutions have to come from somewhere else. The solutions have to come from another mindset. The mind that created those things that are now generating the problems, you can't get the solution from there. So you have to become an entirely different person. You really do. That's what I have discovered. And it has meant ending relationships that were already lifelong. Why did I have to end those relationships? Because the belief systems, the things that we agreed upon to be in a relationship for 10 or 20 years that kept us in one sort of mindset, once I changed my mind about things, you no longer have resonance. You no longer have affinity with people who don't think like you anymore. And so the process is lonely. The process is challenging. But what the results are, like I'm in the early stages of beginning to get the results of all the work that I've done. And the results are things like, so because I'm not holding a grudge with my auntie or my cousins, because I'm not holding on to that stuff, when I go into the space with my family, I'm in a new mindset. And then what is a trip, you guys? Is when they say it only takes one, they mean it. Because I have changed my mind about a particular person or an experience, it changes everybody in the group. Everybody changes. Because one person isn't holding that trauma in their body any longer or in that mind. Everybody starts to get it in this very subconscious way, in this very sublime way. So, for instance, yesterday, I really just sat down and meditated and prayed for everybody in my family. Then I prayed that we would have fun, and I prayed that it would be open-hearted, and that was it, right? I go there, my heart is open, my heart is light, and it turns into this incredible, the musicians are there, they're playing, they're singing. By 11 o'clock, I was like, y'all, I got to go. I'm sleepy. But because I've done a new thing in my consciousness, my family is different. And we hadn't had that kind of experience for years. But that's all it takes. And, when I'm coaching couples, there's this idea that we need the other person to be different in order for us to change. But that is false. All we need is one person to change. And one of the things that I've been doing lately is, I have people in my life that I speak to on a regular basis, and I talk to people and things trigger me. And so I was talking to someone that I talk to regularly, and they were saying something, and I could hear something in it that sounded, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I kept going, what is this that I'm hearing in her? What is it that I'm hearing? And I heard my voice say, it's arrogance. And I was like, oh yeah, so she's young. She's smart as fuck. She's young and smart as fuck. And when we're young and smart as fuck, we think we know everything. We just do. It's just how it works. And so she's young and smart as fuck. And I literally could hear that in her. And so instead of me calling her on it or challenging her, I took it in and went to myself to say, where am I arrogant? Where am I being arrogant? And as I did that, for like weeks, I just sat with the arrogance and saw it in areas in my own life and started to love myself in those areas and begin to show up in a different way within myself in those places that I was arrogant. And then as I talked to my friend, I could hear her arrogance. The arrogance that I was hearing in her was dissolving. And the same conversations that we were having weeks ago, she was having in a completely different way. And this is how impactful our power is. This is how when one person does the work, when one person says, I'm going to heal this inside of myself, face my own shadow, it will implicate others in the ways that you can't necessarily see. But because you clear it up in your own consciousness, it really begins to clear it up for everybody else. It begins to clear it up for everybody else. And that's why it's so important for us to call our own names and to see what triggers us and why are we triggered by a thing, right? So for instance, as I've been watching social media and, the P. Diddy stuff or the T.D. Jake stuff, I literally am like, what is triggering in this to me? And so it's like, oh, deception. Where am I deceptive? Where have I ever been deceptive? How have I ever been deceptive? And I don't have to dig into, I just ask the question. And it'll show up in my own experience, and I can forgive myself and love myself and take responsibility for it. And then that begins to change the reality. That changes the world. This is how we shift the energy. This is how we shift the reality. This is how we do the work of ascension. By fully taking responsibility for the stories in our head and not making it be about anybody else, but taking it because of the law of oneness. We do this because of the law of oneness. The greatest law here, people talk about the law of attraction and the law, all these other, the one that matters the most is the law of oneness, because we are connected to one another. Everything is one thing. It seems separate, but it is not. And so I just want to really encourage you guys, as we are in this Capricorn energy, this Capricorn sun energy, to understand that it is important for us to be willing to be the authority in our own lives, in our own stories, to understand that the stories in our heads, even though we might be telling it about the President of the United States or white people or women, that is in our reality. You think you're telling a story about something that is not you, but it's all you. And the more you can take responsibility for it, the payoff is power, is what I'm trying to say. The payoff is power. The payoff is the ability to then be able to create whatever you desire, because you're not holding judgments, because you're not at odds with things. This is not a walk for the faint of heart. I do know that. But the reason I share it is because our reality is changing. So people are either going to start adjusting and learning how to function with reality the way reality is meant to function with, or people are going to start having a lot of hard times. So that's why I'm sharing this. You're not going to have a choice much longer. You don't have to do anything. You can stay wherever you are. But what I'm telling you is that reality is changing. And because reality is changing, we have to change with it. And the way to do that is to take everything as your experience. Be responsible for everything in your reality. And when you are, you won't be alone. You have ancestors and spirit guides, and the creator of all is within you. You will land on your feet. Everything will make sense. Even the most difficult things can happen, and you will go, I get it. Okay. I get it. I understand why this had to happen. You will be at peace with it. And when you face these things, it's like you have a child who did something wrong. If that child who did something wrong comes to you and says, I did this. I shouldn't have done this. This was not the best choice, but I did it. Then you're going to work with them because you see that they are taking responsibility. It's the same thing. If you take responsibility for everything in your reality, the universe is going to begin to work with you rather than against you. If you go, okay, I created this experience. Okay, I want to figure it out, how to do that. The universe is going to support you in it. You will be supported in it. So I encourage you all to use this energy to really do the deep work to heal and change your mind, transform your mind, let go, forgive, release old stories, let shit go. Let it go. Let whatever your mama did or your daddy did, you can't just let it go by being like in denial. You can't just be like, fuck them. No. That's not what I'm saying when I mean let it go. When I say let it go, I mean heal your heart around it and really let it go. Let it go out of your body. Let it go out of your lineage. Let it go so that you don't have to carry it anymore. Like really let it go. And then when you let it go, you open up space in your energy for more of what you really desire. Many of us are just holding on to stuff. We're holding on to patterns, and we're holding on to belief systems, and we're holding on to what somebody said and what they did. Let it go, because this reality is made up, you guys. This is like a fucking video game. None of this shit is real. It is not real. So the only thing that is real is that we hold on to it and that we continue to believe it. So reality is collapsing. We see it. We see all of our systems coming undone. And it's like if you cut the cords and free yourself, then you will be able to open up into the new. You will have more energy, more power to open up into a new way of being. And it'll be available to you. You can't figure it out with your intellectual mind because what we're doing is unknown. We've never done this before in these physical bodies, right? But they're your spirit, your soul. We all have it. We think we're just like these physical bodies, and we pay all of this attention to our physical selves. But we are spiritual. And when you stop putting all your energy in this physical world and who you don't like and what they said and how much this costs and what I don't have and all that's material shit, when you put more of your energy, 51% of your energy into the spiritual world, the material world will collapse and become what your spiritual world is. But you have to have the courage to let shit go. You have to have the courage to call yourself forward to take responsibility. All right, y'all. I love y'all so very much. I'm just in awe of how the results of my inner work and being with my family and beginning to see an entirely different family because I have let go of the narratives. It is amazing, y'all. I mean, it is just remarkable. Ain't no conversations been had. Ain't no, it's just a remarkable experience. And so bless you all. God is inside of you. God is inside of you. And if you find God inside of you, let go of what they keep telling you about God. All those books and all that shit, the Bible written 2,000 years ago, we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years. And the Bible was just written 2,000 years ago. Right? So come on now. There's a source greater than that. And that source is inside of you. All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. Bye, everyone.